Math! Hey everybody, this is Mr. Regener, and this is the Aftermath. Today our focus will be focus for week 23, and today we're looking at week 23, day 1 activity, so you can follow along as you watch this video and help yourself prepare for this week's focus quiz. So let's get started with number 1. Now number 1 is a question that I think a lot of you will find a little bit fishy, and I think you'll see what I mean here in just a moment, but don't get caught up in the fact that they're fish. The fish could change to another creature today, or I should say this week, on our focus. So don't let the fact that they're fish today, and maybe they're going to be something else later, fool you. We still want to make sure we know the process of how to answer. Let's get to it. Number 1 says, a common rule for deciding how many tropical fish to put in an aquarium is 1 inch of fish for every 1 gallon of water. You are considering putting 2 types of fish into your new 60-gallon aquarium. Let T represent the number of red-eye tetras and B represent the number of banded rainbows. Which equation can be used to determine how many of each type of fish you can put into your aquarium? So for this question, as you look at it, we have 4 options, A, B, C, and D, and we want to make sure that we're choosing the correct equation. So it's kind of a logical, think it out kind of question, but we can also show a little bit of work and show our thinking to arrive to our answer. So let's get started here. First, we know the red-eye tetra is going to be labeled as T, and we know that the banded rainbow is going to be labeled as B, and I'm just pulling that right from here. I know I have a 60-gallon aquarium, and so it's fitting that all of these equations are equal to 60. So no matter what, I know I'm going to have something equals 60, so I know the right side of my equation is always going to be 60. I want to focus my attention then on the left side, so the expression that's on the left side of my equal sign. Now, let me go back to the question here, because it's 1 inch of fish for every 1 gallon of water. That's a 1-to-1 ratio of 1 inch of fish, 1 inch to 1 gallon. If I have a 60-gallon aquarium, then I could have up to 60 inches of fish. But since I have 2 types, I need to keep that in mind. The red-eye tetra is 3 inches long. So think about what that would mean. Am I going to take my number of tetra inches here and multiply it by 3 because I have 3 inches of tetra? Think about that for a moment. Would I take 5 and multiply it by T? That one doesn't seem to even make sense right off the bat. So letter B, I can kind of cross off. Am I going to take 15 times T? Remember, this is like the distributive property if I'm multiplying by the sum of 2 numbers. So 15 times T and 15 times B. Would I ever multiply 15 times T if they're just 3 inches long? Of course, I would say no. I can cross that one off. And then here it says 8 times B and 8 times T. Well, 8 times T, I'm not sure why I would multiply times 8 there. I think that what they're trying to do here is fool us a little bit in thinking about adding up the inches of the red-eye tetra and the banded rainbow. There's really only one logical answer, and I haven't even done a whole lot of math here. All I did is I thought to myself, I need to take 3 times T, and then 5 times B. So if I have 3 times T, I'd add that with 5 times B. So 3 is the number of inches, T is the number of tetras. I'd add that with 5, the number of inches for the banded rainbow, times B, the number of banded rainbow fish. The only possible answer here is answer choice A. So again, logical, think it out kind of question, but you can apply a little bit of math skills to it as well. Let's roll on right now to number 2. The number 2 says, Thomas buys a case of bottled water. A case contains 36 bottles of water and costs $4.68. Thomas will sell each bottle for 75 cents at a school event. How much profit will Thomas earn if he sells all of the bottles of water? So to answer this question, we want to think to ourselves that the word profit, here it is kind of in boldface type, profit is going to be the same as the money earned. Okay? And so the profit is the money earned. That means we can take the amount that he's spending and subtract that from what he earns overall, and that's going to be the total profits. So it's the money earned minus the money spent. That's going to equal profit. So it's important to understand the terminology there, and that word profit is pretty important here. So first, we're going to take the number of bottles and multiply it by the amount that he's charging for each bottle. So, oops, I meant to write my number sign, number of bottles, times the amount or the money that he's charging per bottle. So let's think about this. Right here in my problem, it tells me I have 36 bottles, and he's selling it for 75 cents per bottle. So if I have $36 or 36 bottles times 75 cents, that's going to tell me how much money he's earning overall. That's the money earned. So let me do the quick math here. I'll set it up as a multiplication problem. Notice I have a decimal here, but I'm not worried about that yet. I'm going to worry about that later. So I have 6 times 5, which is 30. I have 5 times 3, which is 15, plus 3, which is 18. Add my 0 as my placeholder. Now I have 7 times 6, which is 42. And 7 times 3, which is 21, plus 4, which is 25. Now I can add these together. I have 0, I have 10, I have 7, and I have 2. Since I had a decimal that moved 2 times here and 0 times here, it needs to move over 2 times here. So the total amount that was earned is $27 if he sells all 36 bottles at this school event. Okay, so he's earning $26, but that's not the total profit. In fact, we actually have to take the $27 and then subtract the amount that he bought the water for originally, which is $4.68. So I'm going to take $27 and subtract $4.68. So here I have to do a little bit of borrowing, but it's nothing that we're not used to. So I'd borrow from the 0, but I can't. I'd borrow from the 7, that becomes 6. This becomes a 10, which then becomes a 9. And then this becomes a 10. So 10 minus 8 is 2. 9 minus 6 is 3. Bring down my decimal point like a bowling ball falling through the floor. 6 minus 4 is 2, and 2 minus 0 is 2. So the total profit is $22.32. Before we move on from this problem, I just want to point out to you that we first figured out how much money he earned by taking the number of bottles and multiplying it by the price per bottle. That was $27 that he earned. We then had to take the money that he spent and subtracted that to get the profit. That was $27 minus $4.68 to show the $22.32 as profit. A little bit of work there for number 2, but again, it's all kind of logical, think it out type things. If you want, take Thomas out of this problem and put yourself in there. Think about how much money you'd spend on those bottles and how much you would make. Let's move on now to number 3. Number 3 says to convert a temperature from degrees Celsius to degrees Fahrenheit, you can use the formula F equals C times 1.8 plus 32, where F is degrees Fahrenheit and C is degrees Celsius. What is the temperature in degrees Fahrenheit of water that is 10 degrees Celsius? So I seem to recall this question that appeared for us on our unit test way back when we were learning about expressions. So all I'm doing here to start is I'm just writing out this formula again, taking it right from my problem. If I'm trying to figure out the temperature in Fahrenheit for water that is 10 degrees Celsius, it's really a simple process of taking out my C and putting in 10. Then I'm going to just use order of operations and solve. So my Fahrenheit temperature is going to be the result of everything I do over here. So the C gets replaced by 10. I keep 1 8 tenths. And there we go. Now Pemdas is going to be our key here. When you think about Pemdas, we go parentheses, exponents, multiplication and division in the same step from left to right, addition and subtraction in the same step from left to right. So I've got parentheses first. Now 10 times 1.8, I'm just going to take 1.8 and move my decimal over to the right. So I'm going to have F equals 18. I can drop my parentheses at this point. So now I just have 18 plus 32. That's the only thing left to do, so that's what I'm going to do next. If I'm not sure what 18 plus 32 is, don't be afraid to break it off to the side and do the math. All right, just to show you, 8 plus 2 is 10. And then 3 plus 1 plus 1 is 5. So F equals 50, and that would be 50 degrees in Fahrenheit. So I'm going to put the little degree sign that's like a little circle floating up there, or you could write out degrees. Again, Pemdas is key there, and we're just using the formula that they give us. Let's move on now to number 4. Number 4 says the table shows the number of books by type checked out of the school library on Monday. We have the book type and the number of books all shown for us in this nice handy table. It says based on the table, choose the statements that are true. So we want to kind of examine this table probably first and maybe make some observations like there's more mystery than anything else, right? The fewest one is adventure, and just kind of understand what the table is telling us. These are all the books checked out on Monday. Now we're going to look at all of our options, just go one by one, option by option, and see if it's true. If it's true, we can circle it because it's correct. If it's not true, we can put an X over it because it's not correct. So look at letter A. For every 3 mystery books checked out, there are 4 nonfiction books checked out. That sounds a little bit like a ratio and something that we should know how to do. So let me make a ratio here of mystery books to nonfiction books. So for letter A, I'm going to show my work up here. I have 24 mystery and 18 nonfiction. So it's telling me for 3 mysteries, there's 4 nonfiction. Think about that just realistically for a moment. Is there any way we can come up with an equivalent ratio of 24 to 18 that's going to be 3 to 4? Hopefully you're looking at it and thinking, no way, Jose, because we've got a larger number up here for mystery and a smaller number for nonfiction. We can't then have a small number for mystery and a larger number for nonfiction. So without doing any work, just thinking about it, I know that letter A is not going to work. Look at letter B. For every 4 mystery books, there are 3 nonfiction checked out. Well, now they're singing my tune because I'm looking at this and I see a bigger number and a smaller number, bigger number, smaller number. I need to now reduce this down. If this were a fraction, I would be making a reduced fraction. Since it's a ratio, I'm just scaling the ratio down to try to figure out if there's 4 mystery books to every 3 nonfiction. So I could think about common factors that go into 24 and 18. Okay, so let me think about this for a moment. I could make a list of, least common multiples if I really need to, but I'm hopeful that you're going to look at this and think about the number 6, because 6 goes into 18 and 6 goes into 24. Okay, so if I just divide each of them by 6, 24 divided by 6, let's see, that would be 4. And then 18 divided by 6, that would be 3. I got a ratio of 4 to 3, 4 mystery to 3 nonfiction, and that's exactly what letter B says, so I can circle letter B. Let me look at letter C. For every 3 adventure books checked out, there are 4 humor books. So I'm looking for a ratio between adventure and humor. So here's my adventure. This is my work for letter C, by the way. So I have 12 humor books to 12 adventure to 16 humor. Again, order is pretty important here. Think about what we did earlier. We have a smaller number of adventure, larger number of humor, smaller, larger. I think we're in good shape so far for letter C. So let me think about if I can reduce this down. 12 and 16, do they have any common factors? And hopefully you're thinking about the number 4. If I divide by 4 for both of these, I'm going to come up with my equivalent ratio. 12 divided by 4 is 3. 16 divided by 4 is 4. I came up with 3 adventure to 4 humor. For every 3 adventure books checked out, there are 4 humor checked out. So yes, I can say C is indeed correct. Let's look at letter D. For every 4 adventure books checked out, there are 3 humor. Well, this is the same thing that I just saw up here. 4 adventure, 4 humor, 3 humor. Okay, if this was right for letter C, there's no way letter D can be right. So I can cross that off without even really thinking about it too hard. Here's letter E. For every 3 nonfiction books checked out, there are 2 adventure. Now, I've not seen this combination yet, so let me do this. 3 nonfiction, so I'm going to make maybe a letter E over here, just so I have plenty of space. So this is a ratio of 18 nonfiction to 12 adventure. Now I have a larger number to a smaller number, larger number to a smaller number. So automatically I'm feeling pretty good about this. Let me think of common factors that go into 12 and 18. And again, hopefully you're thinking about the number 6. If I divide each by 6, I'm going to come up with an equivalent ratio then. 18 divided by 6 is 3. 12 divided by 6 is 2. So I have 3 nonfiction to 2 adventure, and that's what this says. For every 3 nonfiction books checked out, there were 2 adventure checked out. So letter E is correct. So there we had a little bit of work with ratios and creating equivalent ratios, something we've been practicing in our Unit 6, so something that you may be well accustomed to doing. You just have to do it now on this focus paper. So there's our work for Focus Week 22, Day number 1. Hopefully this video will be helpful for you. And just a quick reminder that you can always watch this multiple times until you completely understand everything on this focus paper, so you can do very well on this week's focus quiz. This has been The Aftermath. I'm Mr. Regener. Have a great day.
Math, aftermath, it's the aftermath. Aftermath, it's the aftermath. Math class is fun, but when it's done, stay in the zone. On your own, it's math review, made just for you. Take a video wherever you go. Aftermath, it's the aftermath. Aftermath, it's the aftermath. Oh yeah.